The workers at the big green campaigning machine, the environmental pressure group, had downed tools. They weren't going on strike. Fred Twistleton and Nell Nichols were joint CEOs, and so far the crew they led had been happily busy. Of course, no one had any actual tools, such as hammers and saws and other things that might be used for carpentry or metalwork. They all lived in the brave new world of emails, websites, and online meetings. Fred's friend Hugh would have called it skeuomorphism, using out-of-date language even when you were using new technologies. The venture was somewhat new for Fred, who had started out as a solicitor in Norwich. He had met Nell, his partner, both in business and in life, in Suffolk, where she was working for a local landowner as his chief pig wrangler and resident scientist, and they had realised they had gone to the same college. The bond they formed led to a venture which had taken them to London. The scientific facts were plain and urgent. Fred's legal expertise and Nell's biologist credentials had appealed to an old university friend who wanted to plough some of his hedge fund wealth into green causes. Which is why, a couple of years on from Fred's 40th birthday, they found themselves as joint CEOs of an environmental pressure group, with Nell taking up the post of Chief Scientific Officer, thanks to her expertise in zoology and ethology. Fred was putting his legal training to good work as Chief Legal Officer, not that writing had been entirely put behind him. Fred had just published his first novel, which had apparently suggested even better things to come, and he still wanted to write fiction, but he knew he wouldn't make more than pocket money from that for a while, if ever. It would help if he could remember how he'd managed to be funny first time round, he thought. Write what you know, everyone said. Maybe there were jokes to be had out of rehabilitation. The staff had tidied their messy office after lunch, because surely the fight for an unpolluted environment begins at home, or at least in the office, close to home. Waste paper and takeaway containers had all been placed in the recycling. Washable, reusable coffee cups had been dutifully cleaned. The dozen staff were gathering in the office kitchen for Friday drinks, the tradition that had been begun by Fred and Nell to give thanks to everyone, promote employee morale, and start the weekend a bit early. This Friday in December they had brought out half a case of sparkling white because it was Christmas. Nell had already had her lift by discovering the wine was biodynamic. The week had not been easy. The land was stuffed with more enemies than a new development with flats, local authorities, water companies, developers, polluters. Now the staff needed reasons to be cheerful. Even the most right-on of campaigners needed to turn off occasionally. Consequently, the washing up had been done, bottles had been noisily uncorked, and toasts made to the successes of recent battles and the downfall of all those enemies. "So, where are you going for your jollies next year?" asked Damien, the Scouser who kept their technology going. "Svalbard," said Nell. "Where?" asked Joe, one of the scientists. "Is that in the Balkans?" "It's the new name for Spitsbergen," offered Fred helpfully, "which literally means pointy mountains," he added, in Norwegian. "Still a bit lost," admitted Abigail, the community organiser they had recently recruited. "Aren't all mountains pointy? Anyway, my geography's crap beyond Calais." "It's in the far north of Norway," said Nell, "beyond the Arctic Circle, halfway to the North Pole."